Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake with myself, Davis, Wimbledon. Happy 3rd of July to you as I come live from Chi City, Chicago, Chirac. We came out here for the NASCAR event, the first one in Chicago. We're going to talk about that. We'll give you some behind the scenes. We got some content there. And they just tried to make it like a festival and a good time. And it was a little bit of rain. Baseball world. I was screaming on here on, One Baseball Today episode, if you watched that. Phone almost fell on me. I thought this June, and I couldn't tell, and I always preface these kind of things with, in a way, it's still very new at this. We started doing Talking Baseball, I think, end of 2019. We were, I don't know, still Yankee guys being like, okay, maybe we should do all of baseball. 2020, Trevor Plouffe, World Ends, short season, CBA season, lockouts. Lockout would be CBA season. We haven't had a lot of normal seasons. And with this new playoff format, even last year, I thought things were set up kind of differently where teams were still coming off of COVID, that not everyone was kind of competing. But I feel like we kind of had a flip in that, and we have a lot of teams out there right now that I thought this June teed up to be, I don't know. I wanted it to matter, and I think where I've currently landed, it mattered a lot more if you were bad than if you were good. So we'll do that. And then they released All-Stars. We're not going to do snubberoos because a lot of those guys are probably going to be placed on there. Especially, pitchers, they released it all with like Jordan and Judge. So
That's two right there. Two more outfielders you're in.
So if you have an AL outfield snub right now, you're going to be okay. But yeah, want to talk about that a little bit because there's a couple names on there that, my goodness, happy for them, and we'll go through that with Beebs. This episode is brought to you by me and David. Happy 3rd of July. So June, real quick, and BBD, I don't know if you know the best way to look up monthly team record stats. You know where I landed? It's a good website, but it's not usable all the time. StatMuse, like with the little cartoon picture that pops up.
Their website's good.
So if you Google, oh boy, there goes the phone. If you Google, if you Google, I'm coming live from my hotel room. If you Google MLB team records June 2023, the links that come up are not super helpful. You just get regular standings. If you scroll enough, StatMuse pops up, and you get a nice little cartoon pic, and you get every team's record except the bottom 4, I think, which is funny. That's their get our subscription to get these records. And it's like, well, I don't know. If I really wanted, I could look those up, but I respect the game a little bit.
It looks like you can still see what those 4 teams are.
Yeah, you can still see them, so you know they were bad. So I guess shout out to StatMuse. But yeah, I think I guess on Baseball Reference, if you sorted by month, I don't know. It just feels like
Baseball Reference should have an easier split there, or fair. One of them. One of you guys win that war.
Just give me a better month column. Let's start with the bad because you already know it, and I think we can be quick about it. This June, the 2 ones that hurt the most are still the Mets and the Padres for me. If you hear that, the lackluster tone in my voice, and you're like, oh, I don't know, Jake, shouldn't it? Oh my God, Joe's McFly talked to me all weekend how the Yankees should have Juan Soto. Yeah, dude, I like them too. I would love to have one of the best players in baseball. Padres and the Mets, the new owners. We learned Seidler's name. We learned Cohen's name. They were both bad in June, and they both kind of couldn't afford it. Um, we're a week away from All-Star. Me and BBD, bags packed for Seattle, leaving a couple days. Holy smokes. Busy week for Poppy Gordo. We're going to land there. That I wanted these teams to be good so we could get more owners that would pay more, that would compete more, that would lead to a better product. And both of these teams are pooping the bed. You don't believe in them at all. At all, at all. And the other team that's kind of been dodging them, and I'm in the weirdest place with, is the place we're going to in Seattle. I think they're 1 or 2 games below 500. They've been 1 or 2 games below 500 for seemingly the whole season. They had an awful June.
Mm-hmm.
And 9-15, something like that.
Yeah, I'm on StatMuse's record since June, so that includes the couple days of July, and they're 11-15 since June 1.
Okay. Hot in July, so we'll take that.
Flames July.
And that's where the lame part of the conversation comes out. Mariners run the table this week. They're a couple games above 500 into the All-Star break. They're hosting the All-Star break. They're trading. I think I'm out. I think I gave the Mets, I gave the Padres, I gave the Mariners a shot. They all gave me nothing in June, even though there's other information there and you might like this. And, I gave my Padres speech last week how they just need to hit a little bit better. Everything else has been good. They just lose games. There's winning. Yankee fans are starting to feel this in a very interesting and a little douchey way, that you could feel the difference between a team. And I know, analytically, if your team finishes with 91 wins or if your team finishes with 98 wins, front offices view that as the same thing to win a World Series. How's the rest of your team set up? Look at the Phillies from last year, right? That would be the absolute counter. 87-win Phillies. But they had the high-end talent. I think this season there are a lot more good teams. So Seattle is a little less of a problem about them. The Mariners and the Mets and the Padres, they haven't been able to win, and they feel disconnected. And we knew the NL East was going to be really good. And by the way, good records in June. Your Florida Marlins. We call them Miami Marlins now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're there. No more Florida Marlins. That's kind of a bad rebrand, right?
I guess they have alliteration now, but
or is just Tampa just like, you can't do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I hate to get political this close to the holiday, but so we knew the NL East was going to be good. We thought the Mets were going to be a big part of it. They are not. The Marlins had the second best record in June to the Atlanta Braves, where we'll get to the goddamn Braves. My goodness. I think the Phillies, BBD, and I say think because I do only have my phone. I don't have a laptop. In a very sad moment before we start recording this, I turned the TV on. Like there would be the baseball updates I needed just on the TV. That's not how anything's ever worked. The Phillies had a fantastic month too. I think they're 3 of the top 4 Junes: Braves, Marlins, Phillies.
Yeah. Phillies and Giants I have as tied for 3rd.
So you're the Mets. You've been bad. The Phillies are kind of who you thought they were. Nice month. The Marlins are better than we thought they were. And there's young talent, pitching-wise. You've obviously known that. Jorge Soler, one of the sneaky all-stars this year. Luis Arias, one of the sneaky all-stars this year. Jazz Chisholm just came back. Mets, I think it's done. I'm sorry to any Mets fans that are tuning in here, and you also could just be nodding your head with me and saying yes, but a couple of the variables changed. The trade deadline is going to be so interesting for that team. I don't want to. Okay, so I was trying to not be rude to Mets fans. I'll be rude to Mets fans for a second, but that's because Mets fans were rude to Paxton. We did who's going to be like our biggest player to get traded, and Paxton
Mhm.
dropped to Pete Alonso. Comment section didn't love that, and you understand why if you're a Mets fan. Um, and you know what Cohen's trying to do and pay them, and they love Pete and all that. But year and a half, you get an absolute haul. I'm not saying Alonso's happening.
Do I think that one's
Mets,
going to happen? No, but disproportionate reaction.
I mean, the Mets are wild because it doesn't. It wasn't made. It wasn't built to sell. You have those old pitchers, like in a way they could be traded, right? They're short-term contracts, but
Yeah.
you can't
Scherzer's
do
been
that.
sneaky. Scherzer
Been
most of
great.
this year. Like, a couple bad
Been
ones and then
great.
the suspension, but
Like, do you trade David Robertson? I mean, he's been kind of a lights out back end guy for you.
on a one.
I think they do some shuffling. I mean, they already moved on from Eddie Escobar. I just, we get so excited about the term sell, and I don't know. I guess the Mets are there. Padres are the same boat, man. They just don't win games. Turn on a Padres game, and they have under 4-run lead, and you're like, hey, I think they're going to lose this game. And they did that against the Pirates this week. Pirates coming off an awful month of May, salvaged it a little bit with San Diego, and they entered my radar a little bit more. I'd fully written off the Pirates. I still am because actually look where the Reds landed. Talk about good months of June.
Those 2 Junes are in different spots.
Yeah. Uh, that is San Diego. I'm sorry. I think they do end up like trading a Snell. I think there will be Soto rumors. I don't think it'll actually happen because they won't do that. But like I mentioned with the Marlins, the San Francisco Giants, they turned it on in June that if you're the Padres, that team was the variable team. That's before getting to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And just to walk people through some mental Jake math, I was wondering about this big June theory. And I was like, okay, am I stumbling into something or not? Because we do have a new playoff format that a lot of teams get into the playoffs, right? So if you're a team that has a big June, are the odds that you had a bad April and May? No. I mean, you could kind of toil for the 2 months. You could have 500 and be good for June. You could have a good month and a bad month, April or May. So my June theory, I don't think is rocket science, really. It's kind of baseball, the boys of summer, that kind of deal. But I do think if you have a good June, and I want to follow up on this later in the year, that affects if you're going at the trade deadline. You probably haven't had 2 bad months before that, which means if you haven't had 2 bad months before that, you have an over 500 record, which an over 500 record at the end of June in this level of baseball means you have a chance. Is there an over 500 baseball team that we can like rule out and be like, you're done?
Yeah, not officially done. You cannot believe in them. But
I mean, the only kind of loophole there would be what? The Red Sox in a way, but that's the whole division is above 500.
Yeah, Buster Olney just tweeted like the Fangraphs like updated playoff odds. Red Sox are below 20%. That's lower than the Padres.
So they're the only true team, but they're getting screwed more. So they're getting screwed divisionally, and I just sent in my homer draft pick. I took Rafael Devers because they finished this week with the Oakland Athletics. So I think they're playing the Texas Rangers to start, so you got to balance that out. But, the Red Sox could very easily go into the break with like a 3-game winner, and then you're above 500 and you feel a lot better about yourself. I think the big June matters. I'm going to believe in that going forward. I'm done with the Mets and the Padres for now. I think Seattle I'm going to put in the same boat just because I've waited long enough and maybe they've been waiting for this, and I know they can point to last year. But last year they couldn't point to the Angels being good, which the Angels have been solid this year. They've been fine. They've got a nice record.
Mm-hmm.
And the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers over under coming into the season was 70 something wins, right?
Yep.
And they're on pace to be a 100-win dominant team, like kind of the third best team in baseball, basically. So for Seattle, I think that got added to the equation. Like, if you're Seattle and you have, a lot of young talent and a team we liked last year, especially as we've gone to everybody plays everybody, everybody loves everybody. Like, are the Mariners just the same team, but there's two better teams in their division? That's kind of what their record says.
Yeah, just Rangers got so much better. Their line was actually
Rain,
82.5. I just looked.
what was that?
Their line was actually 82.5, which is higher than I
Okay,
thought.
excuse me. So the bar was set,
You and Jim were
set
on
high.
the over, though.
Hey, they brought in a whole new team, which I know we've been shaking our heads on talking baseball recently, just like how did we miss this? Did we not miss this? I don't know. DeGrom's been out. Evaldi's been an awesome signing. With that, the team that had the best June and was a talking point around NASCAR this weekend, the Atlanta Braves. I've believed in the Braves since the World Series year. I thought they were going to run it back. I was about that. I didn't think teams were built that way, but they did the whole Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson swap. I was like, whoa, they got pieces in, pieces out. Ronald Acuna Jr. wasn't a part of their postseason run, the guy that's going to have 40 homers and 100 stolen bases. That felt significant. They had more guys on the way. They didn't run it back. It remains the hardest thing to do in sports. They are fully set up now. We got blinded by the Rays that first month, as they had a similar first month, undefeated. We've got distracted by Texas Rangers and the story that is, and they're this new team, and they bang, and they got a whole new pitching staff. They just traded for Aroldis Chapman, which loved that. Glad they got ahead of that and went for it. The Atlanta Braves. Go look at the lineup. Michael Harris, too, has been bringing up the 9-hole. He had an OPS, I think, around 850 last year as a rookie. He's also like an A-plus defender. So even if he was being a 9-hole hitter in center field, a premium defensive position, he's covering that, and he's started to hit. He looks really good. Marcelo Zuna and Eddie Rosario, two veterans. Ozuna had a massive month. Rosario goes hot and cold. But they're bonus points for them. It really doesn't matter. I think this organization has been heads and shoulders above everyone the past couple years. And, again, we measure things in rings, which makes sense, right? That's why Yankee fans have been mad recently, because it doesn't seem like that's really the intention. Carlos Rodon coming back. Bat him fifth. We go look at the NL All-Stars. I think 75% of the infield is either a Brave or was a Brave the past 3 years. Sean Murphy behind the plate, who they traded for from Oakland. Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman. Ozzie Albies. Arcia is your starting NL shortstop. We'll talk surprising NL All-Stars in a second. Dansby Swanson is there. And did young, thick Austin Riley get in?
I am seeing Austin Riley on the Talkin Baseball graphic, so yeah.
So that's 7 guys. I didn't know how to phrase the tweet last night, and, praise hell, Raisdale, NASCAR. 7 of the all-star infielders. Like, what's the right way to phrase that? Are either active Braves or spent 5 years
Yeah,
on the Braves, or
are
we're
an
on the Braves in
active
the
or
past 2
recent.
years.
Yeah, we're on the World Series Braves or are on them now.
And know who's not an infielder? Ronald Acuna Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So the Braves have been like missing starting pitching this year. They're one of the teams that has let me come down off the starting pitching ledge. They've still gotten really good efforts. Bryce Elder is an all-star. Worst baseball savant you'll see. Pete Moylan sent me a meme about it. It was the wrestler flicking off the other wrestler, and he looked shocked about it. And it's Bryce Elder's baseball savant reacting to Bryce Elder making the All-Star game. I should have I wanted to post it, but again, NASCAR was distracted. The Braves just do this. Their bullpen is gross. Kirby Yates is back. Buzzy McHugh back there. Reisel. They just have so many options that I don't know. Nothing is all for naught in baseball. There's going to be ebbs and flows to the season. A team that I probably think is dead, those Mariners, Mets, or Padres, could have an awesome second half and be one of the stories of baseball. The 21 Braves, part of their story that I think people forget is I think after the All-Star break in 2021, they were baseball's number one offense, and people kind of didn't view them that way. Oh, we got some Chirac siren fest out there. Sorry about that, guys.
Not too
Ronnie, that I don't know. I was keying into this June being an important month. It feels like there's a little bit of baseball. Summer's here. This is baseball season. Let's go. Everything I tied in with the expanded playoff format that essentially if you have a good June in the rest of baseball history, I think you're positioned to make a run at this season. Like I think you can have a good April and be out. Pittsburgh, although the Santana walk-off is as cool as it gets. And the Atlanta Braves just had one of the best months ever, one of the best Junes ever. That I don't know. I'm all in on them until I'm not. Even we'll do another tier list episode. Maybe we'll bring Jolly back and we'll revisit our tier list.
Yeah.
And we'll get it on screen because all you YouTubers, where's the list? I can't keep up. I get it. It actually makes sense. It's kind of our bad. Wear that. A new tier list because there's been some interesting. We did it on Talkin Baseball, but our S tier right now. Is it Atlanta and Tampa?
Yeah.
Is it one or the other? Is it Atlanta? I think right now they have the best argument.
I think they'd be the 1A.
Where do you lump Texas and Baltimore? So maybe we'll bring Jolly back. Maybe we're once every 3 times a year tier list or something with Jolly Olive.
Yeah, weird quirk on those Orioles when you bring them up on that Buster only playoff chances per Fangraphs. Well, the top 4 teams in the AL, Rays, yeah, Rangers, yeah. 3 and 4 neck and neck are Astros, Yankees. Both Astros make sense, but Yankees ahead of the Orioles. I don't know.
Yeah,
That seems like a miss in the simulation.
The simulation, I think, must value recent year history, and the simulation must also value starting pitching. I think more than, well, let's not say more than it should. Let's see if the second half of this season, if the teams, the Baltimore Orioles, the Cincinnati Reds, the teams that seem low on starting pitching, let's see if it comes back and bites them. But I don't think it will because look at Trevor Plouffe's Minnesota Twins. They can pitch. And who
you don't necessarily need the starters to get there. We can get in the playoffs, it'll be hard to pick them, but
we got a new run differential graphic this weekend of the AL Central and how pretty much everyone was positive, but the AL Central was minus 275 or something.
Oh, like by division? That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. By division, the AL Central is in a bad place. That's kind of my June talk I wanted to do. Let's enjoy July, 4th of July tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's do quick All-Star. I don't think there's a ton of discussion to be had there. Like I said at the beginning, we're not doing, this guy was snubbed because we're gonna have a chunk of dudes drop out in the next couple days. Like we said,
The time to do that conversation is in like 2 weeks after the game, and then nobody cares. So
you're done. BBD, you said you hadn't fully scoured the rosters. The two names, or actually the couple names that jumped to the front of my head. I was shocked. The AL pitchers, not a lot of vets. Garrett Cole, the only AL pitcher that I think had more than 2 or 3 All-Star games, something like that. That was that was a little surprising.
They made a point on the Yankees broadcast yesterday to say like, hey, Cole is like by days of work. He's in line to start that game if they wanted to go that route. So just be cool. Not a lot of Yankees actually started the All-Star game. A little off topic.
That'd be interesting, right? Because the Yankees, if there's ever a time to do it with Carlos Rodon coming back and the funny business they're already doing with their rotation, like, okay. He was not a shock to be on the roster. You can obviously do the Yennier Canoes and guys like that. But yeah, Yennier Cano was a throw and trade piece last year that lowered his arm angle and he's now unhittable. I think for me, Whit Merrifield in the American League. Whit Merrifield, remember, he used to be a trade deadline darling and utility, stolen bases, really good, like batting title contender. He had a couple really bad years in Kansas City that he finally ended up getting traded to Toronto. And it was like, I think everyone almost had that little bit like wish Whit Merrifield got traded a couple of years ago. And then you're like, wow, Jake, BBD, that was really good stuff to get him in the old man draft. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Him being an all-star after his past couple of years is nuts.
Yeah. And the numbers this year don't exactly scream off the page, but hey.
Is it an AL second baseman thing? Is that why the Yanks were pushing Glaber so hard?
I think there was like kind of a group of guys that had an argument, and Glaber and Whit Merrifield were in the same like tier. Where it's like, yes, Simeon is the one, and after that there was like probably 4 guys that could have been screaming.
Get some of those NL second basemen over. Rays fans who screamed at me a lot. Again, I'm not keeping any awards or receipts on this because this will probably piss off this guy and it may give him a better chance to win MVP. Wander Franco not an all-star yet.
Yeah, that is a mess.
Yeah. Seager took the fan vote. And someone else was ahead of him. The other one that we were on, and credit to us, Elias Diaz, the catcher in the National League. I know each team needs their rep, but he's also earned it. And that guy, like, okay, Whit Merrifield had his peak and he was part of, he was kind of the Royals guy for a little bit, but it fell off and that was that. Diaz has just been, I don't say journeyman catcher, but catcher. And he's raked all year. So, BBD, I know you haven't, you were processing the list a minute ago. I guess, what are the other names that jump out as like, if you said this person before the season was going to be an all-star, it would be like, come on.
Austin Hayes makes it, and as who was he was a guy we got a lot of voicemails about him on the Talkin Baseball app last week. Yeah. I guess kind of the flip side of it, and you hate to become Michael Lorenzen. Detroit has nobody. That's why.
Michael Lorenzen made it.
Yes, he wasn't on my radar as one of the guys who was gonna make it. I thought it would be McKinstry. Had big numbers coming into June. I thought maybe Alex Lang, just because he's their closer, and that's sometimes how that shakes out.
What are Lorenzen's stats?
They can't be great. Lorenzen hit. He exactly 100 ERA plus, so he clears one barrier. 4.28 ERA in 82 innings, 14 starts.
How did they not take one of the relievers? They have a couple good relievers.
Yeah, Alex Lang has been good and is their closer. Usually when you're on like a bad team, that's how that shakes out. I guess Erod is out right now and short on innings. He would have been the guy. Yeah, Cisnero has just good numbers. Foley has just good numbers.
They have a couple relievers. Oh, that's tough. Make Erod the All-Star and know that he can't go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael Lorenzen. Happy.
I guess kind of flip side, and you hate to like call a guy out. It's a guy who's coming into the year I would have thought would be there, but just Vladdy's numbers, they're not what Vladdy is.
Yeah.
I know he was in the final vote, but I figured when Yandy won the final vote, Vladdy would kind of be out. And there's 4 first basemen in the AL with better offensive numbers and do more on defense. And I know Rizzo is trending down. I'm pulling up the Fangraphs list by WRC Plus ahead of him.
Rizzo doesn't have the best argument as of right now.
Rizzo's numbers are basically the same as Vladdy's, but he was trending down all of June. Brandon Drury's numbers are basically the same, a tick up, I would say. Nate Lowe, his numbers are better. Ryan Noda, the A's needed a rep. Rooker got it.
Right.
I think if I had to pick, I think I would have picked Noda over Rooker, but
right. So then it's the All-Star game. Yeah,
picking. But
hey, at a certain point, it does. At a certain point, it does turn into the All-Star game, and I think they know. Vladdy is one of the guys. He's a Hall of Famer's son. He's won an MVP. He's going to go to 20 All-Star games. And I think it's
not that he specifically doesn't deserve it, but it's a packed position. But the players look at the list when they do their part of the vote, and they're like, "Oh, Vladdy's one of the best hitters I've watched the last 2 years." Check.
So we've got from the Blue Jays infield, we have Vladdy, Merrifield, and Bichette.
Vladdy, Merrifield, Bichette, all reserves, and a recent Blue Jay in Simeon. Rangers
that'll be interesting.
All over the place still.
Remember Matt Chapman's first month? He doesn't end up being an All-Star. That's pretty crazy. That would have been the guy at the end of April that you would have said was Blue Jays All-Star. So let's see how the rest of the roster sort out. I was pretty happy for Whit Merrifield and Diaz, man. I mean, that's crazy. Let's see where the rest of the All-Star stuff sorts out, and we'll be out there. Reminder, you already know by now, but we'll be out in Seattle. We're doing a live event. It's going to be a ton of fun. Couple tickets left, live Talkin Baseball show. Get hard with Jolly Olive. We'll finish with a little peel back some of the layers part of the episode. Not full. Well, we'll do some full life. We'll do NASCAR. I'll toot if you don't like me tooting my own horn. Earmuffs for a minute. This isn't even tooting my own horn. There's a couple things have gone on. We start doing Talkin Yanks, right? Gets a little bit of popularity. We go to Yankee Stadium, and some people are like, "Oh, Talkin Yanks guy. Hey, John Boy. Hey, where's John Boy? Hey, Jake, I love your stuff." Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. We start doing Talkin Baseball, and then it's kind of like, hey, if you go to a baseball stadium and there's a young fan, there's a chance. If I walk past a dude, there's a chance they're going to give a "what's up" or "oh my god" or whatever, and that's cool. The two recent things that have jumped, Yes Network and our Yankee stuff, being on TV and on Yes Network, there's a different level of recognition that,
people see walking around New York now.
Walking around New York City or going to the Yankees game, it's kind of like full-blown celeb. It can get kind of crazy, whether it's like a playoff game, a regular season game. If it's rainy and all the monsters are out, that was the most scared I've ever been. I wasn't scared. It was fun and exciting, but there has been a new development, and with that, obviously everything kind of grows too, and you got to process that. And also as humans, I think we need to see things 5, 6, 7 times to place it. The Ref Guest Jolly Olive crowd
Yeah.
is out in full force. Um, it has fully struck a chord with people who have been baseball fans. And the Levitard show used to do this. They used to play a game that was just name a baseball player. And now, if you live on social media like we do, you'll see a tweet every 3 days that, no, who really likes it? Shelfie.
Mm-hmm.
Shelfie's a big, like, name a random baseball player. And then the replies just add up because people love Mark Grudzielanek, Placido Polanco, like, whatever
Oh,
you like.
my oh
You know,
06 Royals.
it's just it's that for some reason baseball has that heartstring more than other teams, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if there's more guys or I don't know. I guess there's 53 guys on a football team, but let's be honest, if you're not a Talkin Giants level fan, you know, the guys you input in your memory and you think about, like we made a couple good jokes this weekend that we should pretend that Bobby Skinner is an old Bears O lineman because he's just huge. It's
You
just
could
massive.
if you can get enough people, nobody's gonna straight up know you're lying.
No, that
Don't
in
claim to
fact
be a
they would
starter.
1,000% believe it. And so we were like, okay, who are some Bears O linemen? And okay, so think about this: we got like a car filled with Justin Pennick, big football guy, Bobby Skinner. I'm a big sports guy. Canobio floating around. He's got some deep cuts. And we were trying to name like old Bears O linemen, and it was like Olin Kreutz. He's like a Hall of Fame center, and he's got a weird name. Like outside of that, we did really badly. Because
It's hard.
what's that?
It's hard.
It's hard. So, and I guess on a baseball field, if a left fielder makes a diving catch and hits a home run, you remember them. You remember Frank Catalanato. You dig deep for these guys. Even the guys you don't. I Baseball also has the best percentage of guys that are really good that you just move on from. Like Vernon Wells was so good and so good. But like if you drop that to just a random baseball fan, they're like, "Oh, Vernon Wells." Um, there is now a ref guest grid community that was out in full
Yeah.
full force in Chicago, in New York, at the NASCAR event. Canobio getting a lot of love. Dalton Feely at the Cubs game for a bachelor party,
Mm-hmm.
getting some love. That has been pretty wild to see.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 2 months, and Jolly happens to be in the room with me right now. Yeah, in the last like 2 months, I've noticed a lot. Like I get like the one person a week who like, what's up? Because I walk to and from work,
man.
and then last couple months it's been like, keep killing it in ref guess. That's like becoming the main one I get. Usually it's like gotta be a Yankee thing. That has been a new level.
The ref guest community, and what's going on Jam Baseball. It's cool. A guy working in the pit crew, our guy Ray, popped out mid race, saw Joe's and Canobio, and was like, "Oh my god, love your guys' stuff." He's the gas guy. He puts the gas in the car. This is mid race, popped out. And then I was separated from them for a little bit, and I joined them. And then the guy. I mean, there was a little more of a connected dot. Guy was a minor leaguer for the Braves, so he was in pretty
He's
deep
a
in
baseball
baseball
guy.
But yeah, he was like so stoked. That was really cool. We got food from the concession stand, and the guy was like, "Oh, Dan Canobio." He's like, "Jake." It's crazy. So
Cool.
kind of a little thanks to everyone, and just little John Boy Media fun life update there. NASCAR, that you guys have seen some content, and you'll be getting some content. Pretty wild what they've done. It is in Chicago. Like we're staying in Chicago's. I don't want to say Chicago's Times Square, but like we're in the heart of Chicago. Like you got
Touristy area.
you got the big shopping places. You have like chains, like the famous steakhouses and all the deep dish pizza places will finish there.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, we're right by it, and they just closed off some of the roads and set up a damn NASCAR track in the city. So the scenes and the pictures were really well. Justin Pennick, who is a true NASCAR guy, was pretty skeptical of the race itself. He thought it was going to be a little too gimmicky and no passing and no speed. He ended up loving it. He got what he wanted, and yeah, I mean the behind the scenes was it was rainy. It was a rainy weekend this weekend in Chicago. Um, it was pouring. Race was supposed to start at 4 p.m. It's pouring outside. So 3 p.m. we're like, this is a work trip. We're like, we got to head over there? And they're like, oh, they're gonna race. They're gonna race. It's gonna rain. We're like, we basically made a plan that we're like, okay, if they start this race, we're just going to bolt it. We are staying like 10 minutes away, so it's not too bad. We're like, all right, we might miss the first lap, but we'll get there. They say they're going to start the race. They don't because it was pouring. So we just kind of were sitting in the hotel lobby, just like itching to go to this NASCAR race, hoping to go to this NASCAR race, hoping that it didn't get pushed to today because then it was going to be like a Joker situation, like who's staying, who's going, are we doing this, are we not? They got in the race. It was a lot of fun. The access we got was pretty cool. Like I said, I mentioned a guy from pit crew came and dapped us up. That's because we were like in pit row. And then Ronnie, who ref guest, Ronnie was kind of like our main camera guy. So he got like a bonus vest that was like you could get closer to the action to get camera shots and stuff. And Ronnie was in it. He was like some of the footage Ronnie got, and I don't know I know we're eyeing some social media posts or we'll see. Pennick was like, if you don't put this on JM Main, we're fighting. Ronnie has footage that looks like he is like the driver's personal social media team. Like the driver gets out of the car to celebrate, like he does the NASCAR body out of like the truck, and Ronnie is the closest cameraman to him. And I don't know, it's some pretty wild footage. So everything ended up working out. I am about to shower, pack up this hotel room, fly back to the big city. And then I think we're clean tomorrow, right? Because we moved Boone to Wednesday.
We slid Booney, slide Talking Baseball to later Wednesday, and I think we're there. Trevor Plouffe's calling me, figuring out stuff.
Do you guys know what you're doing?
Oh, yes, and I'll tease it at the end of this if somebody watched this before watching that. Right. Jolly's in the room, I told you that much. We are doing and sort of related to our June topic, a second half wins draft.
Oh, okay.
Like buy some stock in some second half teams.
You guys are gonna torch Trev.
Yeah, Trev believes in everybody. He's gonna be so in on the Mariners. He won't call them dead.
Oh, man, that's probably his grand fucking finale. Great. Well, I hope it's posted before my flight takes off. 12:30 Central, so it'll be tight.
Podcast app might probably be out.
We might be there. I'm good. You need anything else, Beeps?
I think we're clean.
Go NASCAR, go Jolly, go BBD. Yeah, if your audio wasn't the best, I am coming from the Chicago hotel room without laptop or microphone or anything. So
yeah, the camera looks good.
Camera feels crispy. I think those John Boy settings we changed on our phone do work.
Yeah.
That's nothing people need to hear. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you Wednesday.
Love.